Welcome back. You're now watching the lifestyle segment on The Weekend Show. According to data from the Central Bank of Nigeria, inflation dropped from 21.88% in July 2025 to 18.2% in September 2025. However, with the floating of the naira and making sure that we have a unified dollar to naira exchange rate, we'd also remove subsidy. Nigerians says this is better for the economy. The lives of the people haven't gotten better. And so while we see on paper that it is getting better for the country and we've been told to wait over time to see how well it gets, how does this affect the average man? Everyone I know has had some form of rent increase either for their offices or for their houses. For people, the cost of buying houses have gone astronomically high. Yes, we do understand that there's the Renewed Hope agenda and they do have some homes and mortgage systems, but there's still a high barrier to entry for a lot of people. Those who are in the food businesses, how are they coping? Price of food has gotten really high. Those who are in other sectors, employers are now finding it difficult to pay their staff. How do we match the good reports which we see on paper to the realities which affects the average Nigerian? This is what we will be talking about on the lifestyle segment. And joining me to have this conversation, I have to my left Ms. Chima Emanuela, the National Women Leader, ADYC. Good morning and welcome to the Weekend Show.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Also returning the show, we have Honorable Sergius Ogun, former member House of Representatives between 2015 and 2023, political analyst and leader of and political stakeholder and leader in the ADC. Good morning and welcome back on the Weekend Show, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We'll start with you, Manuel. Cost of living. That's what we are discussing. I remember a time in the last 3 years, it used to cost me about 11 to 13,000 naira to fill the tank of my car. Now it wouldn't cost me less than 50,000 naira. I've seen the prices of rent increase. I have staff who work for me, and I know every day the challenges people are facing in Nigeria. But we are seeing that unemployment rate is reducing according to the Bureau of Statistics. We are seeing that inflation is reducing. I see you looking surprised. What's the reality on the ground for you as a woman leader? You work with women, you are a young woman, you see what's going on out there. What's the actual representation of this?
You can notice when you say like the unemployment rate is dropping, and I'm like, I think what we read on paper and what the statistics actually say is different from the realities we see in our day-to-day life, because we have, as you said, it used to cost less than 5,000 naira to fill the tank, and then now it's costing like three times
50,
that.
yes,
You get
like 10 times
10
more.
times that. So it's very different from what you read in the statistics. And honestly, the cost of living in Nigeria today is something that was like a wild imagination, you know? Like it sounds, if you're telling someone like 5 years, 6 years back that this would be our reality, it will sound very exaggerated, like how can it be, you understand? So the reality we're living now is like a nightmare we never expected to become real for us. And as a woman leader, I've worked with a lot of women. I have women in my circle and my day-to-day runnings. And the cost of living, from food to rent to bills, you have like your electricity bill, your utility bill.
Skincare.
The bills are just
It's welfare. Everything really
everything
has gone higher.
everything is just so overwhelming that you just have to, seems like you have to take a deep breath before you like make that transfer, and then after that it seems like energy has gone out of you, because you don't have an option at this time. It's just something that we're dealing with, but it's very different from what you said on statistics. And honestly,
According to the MBS and
exactly.
the CBN,
So
not me.
honestly, the cost of living now is something. it's just something that when you think about it, you just have to just wave it off, because it's like you're adding salt on injury, because it's something like, okay, oh, you can't even take a deep breath and say, okay, let me wave it off. You living in it. Okay, like previously you said the cost of transportation from one place to the other used to be like, within Abuja used to be like less than 1,000 naira, and then before a salary earner that earns like minimum wage, when you have to go to work from distance, and most of the people who earn minimum wage, they cannot afford accommodation around where they live, because the cost of rent have skyrocketed recently, and I don't know if there's a body in charge of tackling rent, because that's a very big pandemic that's actually a big blow to young Nigerians and to women and family people, and it's something that hinders your day-to-day activities, because if you cannot afford rent around where you work, and then you have to commute from a distance to get to work, and then you cannot say, okay, I'm not going to do that because that's your only means of livelihood, and it just becomes like overwhelming, and it actually keeps Nigerians in survival mode, because you're working to pay your bills, you're working to make ends meet, you're working to afford just bare necessities, just basic necessities. So there's no, because of the cost of living, there's really no extra. Most people can't even save for something unknown, you know. Sometimes you want to like have your money in the bank because maybe for something, an unknown circumstances, or some people just can just only afford what they need, not even what they want, because a lot of people want a good life, but because of the high cost of living, they cannot afford that. They just can afford what they can do with. They end up just feeding from hand to mouth, and then it cuts across like the average Nigerians, and then maybe like the lower class, and then even the upper class can bear the fact that stocking your house these days does not come easy as much as it used to, because I remember when we used to buy a bag of rice for like less than 10,000 naira growing up, you understand, and then when you're earning like your wage, it meant something, and then the conversion rate from naira to dollar, which you mentioned, used to be like tangible. I remember when $100 used to be less than 15,000 naira, you understand.
Yeah.
So when you have money, like you have dollars, and then you want to like convert it, even when you want to do business on international level, you know, you have value for what you're paying for. So right now, for you to do business on international level, and then you're in Nigeria, by the time you convert your naira into foreign currency, you're already set back.
Okay, let me bring Honorable in. Honorable, in the last 3 years, you've done a lot of consultation, you've gone around communities in your state and around Nigeria. What's the reality on the ground? And even for yourself, has the economic situation changed for you?
We are in trying times in Nigeria. And that's why the Bible admonishes us to pray for our leaders, so that we have a peaceable life. Because we can criticize, but we pray for them to have a sound mind, because they are in office, so that they can have good policies, and so that we can all benefit from it. The biggest challenge I think we have now is mental health of an average Nigerian. And these are present day realities. I was with one of our leaders, Senator Seremi Osubo. You know, he's a member of NWC of our party, ADC. We were going for a meeting in his house, I think like last month, and my driver has taken me there severally. You know, the guy drives the car in front, and he just, so I had to tell them, call him. We are going to Prof's house. Where was his mind? And that's dangerous, whether you like it or not. And I have other domestic staff that I just see, and the way they behave.
Yeah.
You know, you see somebody doing, are you talking to yourself? And I have even increased salary without negotiations or anything, because I can also see what is happening around. But it's not enough. You say minimum wage is 70,000 naira. If you don't, nobody is paid 70,000 naira. If it's 200,000 naira. Today, let's say a household of 6, husband and wife, maybe 2 biological children, where in Africa, you have relatives either from the wife's side or from the man's side, or even 2 might be from the wife's side or from the man's side. So minimum, let's say 6. And let's say the man earns 200,000 naira or 250, the woman earns 250, either from business or from working in the civil service. That's 500,000. True. And I can tell you today, the way things are in this country, that cannot help manage that family. Because you have to look at the fact that the man will pay transport, the woman will, even if she's selling in front of the house, the man will pay transport, they have to pay school fees, they have to feed, they have to pay rent, the health care if anything happens to any of the children. So now we're not even talking about savings, like my dear sister said. So it's horrible. NBS can be churning out all manner of things, but as long as it does not reflect in our lives, it's just story on paper. It's story. So it must, I have always said, I've said it in the past, even in the house, when we are debating the budget, I have always said in the past that till this budget reflects in the life of the ordinary person, it will be meaningless. That woman that is frying a car by the roadside, this budget should be able to affect this woman. The vulcanizer should be able to benefit from this budget. Till this set of people have the impact, or the budget impacts them, or the economy impacts them positively. Whatever you are saying that the World Bank has said or NBS is saying, just gibberish. So I think there's a whole lot we can do. And the funny thing, look at our interest rate. Now they tell you it's coming down. Where was it before? You know, like you just alluded to the fact that $100 used to be like 15 naira when you change those. You see, now you're saying those is sounding like, in my language, they say bomba. It's sounding like ancient of days. That was 2015 here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not
Before
long
Jonathan
ago.
left office. So, and then when somebody now said, the dollar is coming down, where was it before? Excuse me, where was it before? You took it to almost 2,000 naira. Now you say it's 1,500, you say it's coming down. Where was it before? You know, inflation, 2015 year was single digit. Look at countries around us. Benin. Even Ghana is 11.5.
Yeah.
Look at Benin, 2 point something. Tanzania, you know, Kenya, Tunisia, all single rate. Now you are telling us it's coming from 30-something to 20-something. Where was it before? Interest rate, same thing. So if you're going to borrow money in the bank for 20-something%, borrow. What is going to be the markup?
Or whatever you're paying
Exactly. So if you borrow at 20-something%, you are going to do a tender or a project, what will you mark it up with? So you take a look at the cost of borrowing plus the margin you put the profit, is almost close to 50%.
for. Which now increases inflation because people have to pay for those services, people have
Absolutely.
to buy, and the business owners have to make money.
So it's madness. It's not sustainable.
Well, Honorable, as someone who has been in the legislative, there seems to be a lot of focus on the federal government, and not a lot of people hold the state governments accountable. Do you think this is a fair assumption?
Yeah, I have always said that. But funny enough, the federal has a whole has a role to play in this, because, like Senator Ekwedemandu said, we are running a fidi-bottle federalism. And I don't know where else you have this kind of federalism in the world, where governors will sit down at the end of the month, they send their commissioner of finance to Abuja to come and collect money. Like, we were on a program not too long ago, and somebody was talking about, now the states are getting more money because of the removal of subsidy. So the incentive to even look for, to be creative has gone. And for every one of us here today, if we didn't have any need to come to work to earn money, maybe we would have watched movies till 4 a.m. this morning.
That's true.
And then wake up like 2 a.m. to watch Premiership. The incentive to work there, you don't be creative. But that's what's happening in Nigeria. So the federal government knows how much goes to the states every month. Now, this president came and said, okay, went to Supreme Court, got judgment for the autonomy for the local government. And then while people were applauding him, he also met with the governors. I think they went to visit him, whether it was during Salah break or Christmas. And he said that what he's not saying that there should not be a level of control by the state governors over the local government. So what are you saying? You give with right hand, you take with the left hand. I thought he would be tasking them to say, look, yeah, this law is real. If anything happens, nobody should come here begging me and all that. Make sure the local government gets their money. Then you tax the central bank to make sure that the money is paid directly. Because it's the jack that's causing the problem now, the joint account. So the money hits the state account. The state will take practically everything and give the local government money for their emolument, for salaries and all. So that's what I'm saying. The federal government has a role to play in this. Every month, publish what goes to the states and what should go, or what goes to the local government. That's why you have commissioner for, minister for information and all. They should be pumping it out there to every state. Your governor received this amount of money. Your local government, whichever, received this amount of money. So go tax them to work. So but when you are doing paddy, we don't know what you are doing.
I like the way you use the feeding bottle analogy, but we have also seen that there's so much control which the federal has. We've seen a couple of state governors decamp to the ruling party, and they have said, so that our people will not suffer. Your state, for instance, I worked with dismay where state executive council members were told they must come for exco meetings with the infinity sign cap. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they will face some sort of whatever that's called. But in the full sentence of what he said, he was like, because the only reason why the commissioners and co are there is because the party and the president got them into power. Which now makes you wonder, so does that mean, was that him coming out to say the votes didn't matter and he was appointed from the president in, because words have implication.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Most people saw you must wear the cap, but he was like, because he is the reason why we're here, not the people. And so why should state governors take any accountability or do more when they know that all they need to do is, because this is TV, I'm looking for a better word, is to be able to play to the tunes of the piper?
Now, you see, when they go and so many states have crossed in the south, and they say, yeah, we have taken over that state. The governor is just one person. Even if you talk about the cabinet, even if you talk about the House of Assembly, put all together, they are not up to 0.1% of the voters in the state. But what they are telling you that is the man that controls the purse. It's no inheritance. It's not his father's money. It's the state money. So the federal is complicit in this when they tell you we have taken over that state because the governor has crossed. Now they have said that, oh, PDP is gone. The major funding states, we have taken them. So you are aware, you know that these people are using state resources to win elections, to rig elections. So when you say people are looking at the federal alone, they're not looking at the states. The federal knows what's happening in the state and they have encouraged it. Some of the state governors have said, okay, we are crossing so that we can align with the center. So now they run the show together now. So, and then those at the bottom are suffering. And let's not run away from the fact that it has not become them versus us. And that's why when people talk about revolution, it's not something I like. Or people talk about change of government or military coup. I don't like any of those things. Look at the answers. Look at those BRT buses they burnt in Lagos. People say, these are supposed to be for the masses and all that. Because people were angry. The conclusion is, you would have made money from the purchases of these buses. Even the insurance and all that, people have made money from all this. We don't care. And when people have gone beyond caring, it becomes very dangerous. And that's where we are in this country today. Why will cost of food not go up? No roads. I don't know about the north, but go to my own part of the country. In my own place in Esan, to move from one local government to the other, it will take you hours. I'm not exaggerating. I just talked about living from my village, Uboha, which is in the Eastern Southeast, to go and attend a meeting in Professor Subo's house. It was 3 hours. That used to be less than 15-minute journey. 2015 here, 2014, when we were
Oh,
campaigning.
wow.
3 hours. They were the Ekpoma road that they told you, we saw that the Minister of Works and others said they have finished. I saw it in the news. I said, okay, let me go through that road. I was stuck there for over an hour. I had to look for a way to navigate to go back to the old road that the state government did. So you see trucks everywhere. A journey of 3 days is taking them almost 2 months. I'm not exaggerating. You see them on the road. The roads are bad. And then they have become, the articulated truck drivers have become very aggressive. Because when they are spending days and weeks on the road, do you expect them to be nice? So you imagine the cost of even transporting these goods. Something you will transport in 3 days, and are not spending 3 weeks or a month. The cost is not going to be the same. Besides the fact that the cost of diesel has gone up. So it's all working against the ordinary people. Ordinarily, it would not have mattered if this would trickle down to the same people. But it's not. Those in government are living a different kind of lifestyle from the ordinary people. And you expect them to clap for you. People might be desperate now to collect money to vote. But if there's any spark, Nigeria will be too small to hide any of these people.
Emmanuel, I see you agree a lot with what Honorable is saying because I see you nodding. But let's even bring this a bit closer to the role of the average Nigerian. And maybe it's because we imitate what we see at the top. So for instance, you see that the government in some places has fixed a road to the streets to your house. What happens? Your landlord comes to say, we're adding an extra 2-3 million to your rent. You see that something has changed somewhere. Everybody's trying to outsmart the next person. What's the role of the average Nigerian in this? And do you blame them?
First of all, I want to take it from where he says about like the governors controlling the purses and everything. You know, as he said, they're just a percentage of the voters. And, you know, when the average Nigerians start to know that they are the decision makers when it has to do with power, that's, I think we'll have a revolution. Because most people don't want to involve themselves in governance. They think politics is just over there and then they're over here and then they want to escape it. But what they don't know is that politics affects your daily life. Politics is the reason why things are working. And there is also the reason why things are not working. So when an average Nigerian will know that, okay, I have to keep doing something. I have to be consistent in my pursuit for change. I have to be consistent in my pursuit for a better government. I have to be consistent in my pursuit for a better tomorrow. That is when we'll actually start having the change we want to see. Because you cannot say, okay, you're a Nigerian and you're complaining about bad governments, and then you do not make an effort to see who you put in power. You let them make the whole decision. You let anybody who wants to sit down there, not thinking about yourself, but only complaining about it behind closed doors.
Do you think that's them, or the way the system is designed is pretty much highest bidder and who still controls resources? Because Nigerians go out to vote. Nigerians have gone out to vote for who they wanted. In some cases, we've seen INEC be at fault by not being the most accountable, and there's no repercussion. In some cases, we've seen law enforcement officers being complicit. In some cases, we've seen the federal government. So what will the masses really do?
I think those points you made are very obvious points. But as I said, the people who do this thing, they don't just do it once and go back and go and say, okay, they've won. They put system in play. They keep doing it. We're in discussion with some dignitaries, and then they will tell you that they've been in this politics for a long time, way back as 20 years ago. So you who want to change something, you won't put your hands on the plow and then you start looking back. You should also be consistent. And I know what happened in the election, the past election, was really disheartening because a lot of youths, a lot of people came out and to do the right thing, to seek for change. But I'm just saying that it's something that even if we don't get it at the first try, we just have to keep trying. And back to what you said about the role of average Nigerians trying to outsmart the next person when things are actually moving. I think we Nigerians should also be conscious and be accountable to say, okay, why will this say because the government is working, then I'll have to reap the benefits? We should be less selfish. We should really be less selfish because I don't even know, like some people do some things without justification just because they have the power to do it. Like your landlord in your house might just say, okay, he's taking, I have a friend that actually had a landlord that he said when he was paying 400,000 and then the landlord just woke up one morning and increased his rent to like 750,000 without justification. I think an average Nigerian, we should think, okay, we should be the change we want to see. In as much as we are making this consistent move to say, okay, let's keep doing this thing, let's keep doing this thing, let this keep happening, it's going to work. It might not work immediately, but eventually it's going to work. So we should hold ourselves accountable for the fact that if there's a little hand extension from the people up there, we shouldn't want to reap the benefits. We should all come together and say, okay, this is what we want. We want a progressive and a sustainable change. We should all come together and say, okay, let's do our own bit. And also, I think I see a lot of times Nigerians, when the government does road and you see like, okay, the gutters are functioning and then people just go there and just heap dirt in it. And then when things go bad again, you now complain that, oh, the governments are not doing anything. As much as these people do the little they do, we as average Nigerians should also hold ourselves accountable for maintenance because sometimes they might not see what's happening in your frontage.
Okay, I need to bring, while we wrap up this segment, and Honorable, you're still coming back to join us on the political segment, which is a different topic, but about the Financial Action Task Force and removing us from the grey list, as well as our rising external debt. But talking about cost of living, what's your final word? What's the way forward?
I saw a post by the late president of Tanzania that Africa will remain poor as long as we keep importing the things that we can produce locally. The last administration of the late President Buhari encouraged farmers a whole lot, you know, Anchor Borrowers Program, and then there were grants to farmers and all. And then we started producing most of the things that, especially rice, most of the things that we consume here.
Yes.
And now this present government has reversed all that. I know they're looking for a quick fix. They want prices of food to come down and all. But by the time you start importing them, in the long run, we are no better off. Because those same farmers that were lifted, that were given facilities that were subsidized, cannot now match what you are importing. So what happens? So we have taken 2 steps forward and more than 10 backward.
Backwards.
So we have to do something about the roads. I mentioned you have to transport this food. Tomatoes and all the bits are coming from the north to the south.
Yes.
And there's no road to get to the south. The rails are not working. You could have used cargo rail to ship these things. And the section 14(2)(b), I quote this all the time. Security and welfare of the people is the primary purpose of government. The welfare is the well-being of the people. So any government that cannot cater for its people has failed ab initio. So for me, it's for the government to stay awake. It's not for them to be gallivanting all over the world in the name of looking for business to uplift Nigerians. A whole lot would need to be done by government policies. Yes, maybe you can say short term you are importing, but subsidize the farmers. Farmers all over the world are subsidized. Subsidize them so that whatever you are bringing in will be short term, so that in the long run, we can produce what we are consuming here. Because that one is 2 ways. While you are producing here, you're also employing people. Even the middlemen buying and redistributing, they are all Nigerians. And then fix the roads or fix the rails.
I think that's a good place to leave it. Thank you, Ms. Chima and Honorable. When we return, we have more on the weekend show. However, still coming up a bit later, we'll be joined by Comrade Igo Akerega. We'll also be joined by Honorable Sergius Ogun and economist Paul Alaje to discuss Nigeria's removal from the grey list by the Financial Action Task Force, as well as our huge rise in public debt. Don't go away. See you shortly after this break.